Merchants are a subclass I've always been rather fond of. From Swire's bottles to Mr. Nothing's stances, I've never not found them to be interesting and fun. Even if they can be a bit of a mixed bag, and all merchants aren't necessarily created equal, their unique kits are always a treat to mess around with. The most recent addition to the subclass, Picadino, is no exception. Picadino is a merchant specialist, so above average stats at a low initial cost, in exchange for stalling DP generation, and not returning any when he retreats either. He's got a more offensive stat spread compared to Mr. Nothing, and has a kit that follows suit, opting for on-demand offense over utility. Picadino's talent grants him an additional 20% damage against enemies he isn't blocking himself. It's a simple and effective talent that complements his skills, and tracks with how you'll be using him 90% of the time. Skill 1 at Mastery 3 grants Figurino an extra tile of range and an additional 60% attack. Imagine you have an agent, but they're a bit stronger, drain DP, and take a few seconds to get their full range. That's basically skill 1. That isn't to say that it's redundant or useless, of course. Merchants have higher base stats than agents, so Picadino brings both survivability and greater offense, all while being able to get out on the field just a bit faster. It's actually a little surprising sometimes to see the damage he can do. The damage boost from talent paired with the additional 60% gives him pretty fair performance against bulkier targets. You can see here he deals with the Caroline fairly well. This is only Ascension 12, so nothing crazy, but still more solid than I expected using him initially. There's also the fact that merchants have a 10-second shorter redeploy time at 25 seconds compared to agents, so it's much easier to set them from place to place as needed if DP isn't the main concern in a given situation. Skill 2 is more Figurino's bread and butter, and probably the one to choose most of the time when using the operator. At Mastery 3, Picadino stops attacking, finds at most 4 enemies, and deals 160% attack as physical damage every second over the course of 8 seconds. Over the course of the skill, 25 DP is consumed. Now, 25 DP is a pretty steep cost when considering Picadino's initial cost of 8 DP, alongside about 3 DP per second from skill, as well as 3 DP every 3 seconds from trait before module bumps that down to a more affordable 2. But it's not as scary as it sounds. DP is only deducted for as long as enemies are bound for, allowing Picadino to immediately leave SP lockout when affected enemies are defeated, much like Hibiscus Ulster's skill 2. As long as skill 2 isn't being put up against anything with particularly high defense, or a ridiculous amount of HP, things go pretty smooth. Skill 2's 8 seconds on, 8 seconds off cycling is also quite nice, ensuring good uptime, or at least a guarantee that it will be there when you need it if you're conserving DP. It's also definitely the better skill to give Mastery to. At Mastery 3, there's only a 3-second wait to immediately bind enemies on deploy, which is certainly nothing to sneeze at. He's never going to be doing anything on the level of, say, Ethan, but an easily redeployable, almost immediate bind bomb isn't something to blow off entirely. By virtue of being a merchant, module level 1 is mandatory if you want to use the guy in any meaningful capacity. The extra 10% damage he gets on talent at level 3 is rather nice, but probably not worth it for most people, as his performance isn't going to shoot up all that much. Of course, unless you like odd 5 stars like I happen to, there's no particularly strong case to build Picadino. If you want skill 1's range, Cantabile or the free puzzle are right there with DP generation built in, and skill 2's crowd control is better achieved with operators like Manticore or Ethan. I just happen to like the operator. If you're still here, thanks for listening, and if you want, feel free to tell me how horribly I pronounce this guy's name so I can feel bad.